This is Alex, W7FTM, along with Vicky, K8VKY. We will be your net control for the Night 117. This is a direct net, so all traffic should go through net control. Does anyone have any emergency or priority traffic they were holding until the start of the net? If so, please come now. The format of the net is live trivia. One random question will be read to each person who checks in. You'll have 3 answers to select from. And before we get going, the question of the night is, if you could uninvent something, what would it be? If you could uninvent something, what would you select? Let's see who's checked in so far via the text and email lines. Hold on a second. We have KJ6ARR, that's German George in Scottsdale via email. He got his question correct. And GR2FJI, George in Kawagoe, Japan. N6MOT, Little Island, Monterey, California. KN6MIK, Mike in San Diego. KK7HLD, Dave in Portland, Oregon. KK7AVK, Victoria in Phoenix. KK7NXV, Timothy in Tillamook via the text line. N7OKN, John in Mesa, Arizona. KI7LAG, Patrick in Beaverton. He's in and out tonight. He has a wedding anniversary to go to, which I'm glad to see his priorities are straight. Happy anniversary, by the way, Patrick. KK7OG, Reno, Nevada. VK2DY, Robert in Kelly Ridge, Australia. N7FGP, Scott in Houston. K8BYU, Roy in Blasdell, New York. Let me drop a minute. KN6JLX and KN6JLW, Larry and Stephanie in Elk Grove, California. KD3BBA, Chad in Cadogan, Pennsylvania. K5MUX, Teresa in College Station, Texas. AC4BR, Brian in Monticello, Kentucky. W2AJR, Andy in Cheektowaga, New York. And KQ4UPK, Chris in Hollywood, Florida. Anybody else like to check in? Come with your full call sign phonetically twice, please.
Whiskey 9 Delta Whiskey Hotel, Whiskey 9 Delta Whiskey Hotel.
QL Foxtrot 6 Hotel Delta Juliet, QL Foxtrot 6 Hotel Delta Juliet. Whiskey 1 Bravo Bravo Whiskey, Whiskey 1 Bravo Bravo Whiskey. Victor Alpha 3 Yankee Bravo Sierra, Victor Alpha 3 Yankee Bravo Sierra. 4 RCS.
All right, let's hold it up there. See, we also have checking in. We have W9DWH David, Owensboro, Kentucky. KF6HTJ, Brenton, Pensacola, Florida. W1BBW Stephen in Londonderry, New Hampshire. VE3YBS Bill in Bentonville, Ontario, Canada. KL4 Rich in Meadow Lakes, Alaska. And N5ZUA Steve in Houston via the text line. Once again, the question of the night, if you could uninvent something, what would it be? George in Kawagoe, Japan, GR2FJI.
Well, howdy there, Alex. On the net, good evening. Well, that certainly would be the atomic bomb. Because we, here the people on planet Earth, we are so primitive, so cruel to each other. I don't believe it, what we're doing to us, to our planet, killing off everything. That would be the number one I would really like to destroy. This never should have happened, this development. The E-bomb is not for us. It's a too mighty toy for us humans here. Anyway, over to you, Alex.
Thank you, George. Good points all. Your question is, Attila the Hun's army would, oh, by the way, I'm going to start off tonight with some questions about food, so just to let everyone know ahead of time. Attila the Hun's army would cure meat by A, pounding it with the bones of their slain enemies, B, putting it under their horses' saddles, or C, having young, attractive slave girls do it first. How did Attila the Hun's army cure their meat?
I know I'm gonna be wrong. You know what? Just for the fun, I'm gonna go with C. JR to FTI Boron. Thanks for doing the net symmetry. Back to you, net control.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have had much plundering done with that, with all the attractive slave girls. Actually, they would put it under their horses' saddles. That's how they cured the meat in Attila the Hun's army. Come on, George, everyone knows this. The salty split from the horse would make the meat last longer, and the pressing of the meat under the saddle would tenderize it. We should go back to that. Oh, not enough horses. We'd have to use our car seats. Oh, maybe that's not such a good idea. Thanks, George. Thanks for checking in, buddy. Glad you could make it. Let's go to Little Owl in Monterey, California, N6MOT. If you could then invent something, what would it be? Little Owl. Wake up. N6MOT, Monterey, California. Like the chair monster got him. We'll give him another try later. Mike in San Diego, KN6MIK. Mike, if you could invent something, what would it be? KN6MIK, Mike in San Diego. Oh, he just texted me. He's not getting the audio. I'll try him again. KN6MIK, Mike. We have California. Dave in Portland, Oregon, and KK7HLD. How about it, Dave? First of all, are you there?
Dave's not here. Yes, I'm here. KK7HLD.
We have Portland. We didn't lose the entire West Coast. All right, Dave. If you could then invent something, what would it be?
I mean, besides eating, boy, that's a tough one. Probably just about any of the items that were invented to make things easier and cheaper instead of better. If that makes any sense. Just for example, I remember years ago, you couldn't buy a decent hose, a sprayer for your hose. They quit making the good ones because people didn't want to spend the money, so they started making really garbage ones. Finally, now that manufacturing's gotten better, there's a lot more stuff that they got rid of because of that move to cheaper and less well-made stuff. that is going away because it's easier to manufacture stuff in smaller amounts. So that makes sense. I hope that wasn't too much. Back to you.
Actually, Dave, that's a well thought out answer, and I tend to agree with you on one. I bought one of these spray nozzle hose things you can get now that the first few they came out with were terrible. It wasn't worth the money, and now, well, they've improved on it. And of course, everyone's getting them from Amazon, and I don't walk into the hardware store anymore. It's unfortunate, but okay. Your question is, Salisbury steak was originally created A, at the 1904 World's Fair, B, in Salisbury, Massachusetts, or C, as a treatment for anemia, colitis, gout, rheumatism, tuberculosis, and asthma. What was Salisbury steak created for?
Man, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know that I know this one, and I'm supposed to know food stuff. Man, I gotta, just because, I gotta say C, because there, if it isn't that, there's a whole bunch of things that are made just for that kind of stuff. You know, like Coke and Dr. Pepper. Makes you better. Anyways, let's check the good stuff out, right? KK7HLD, you and your lovely logger there very much for the wonderful net as always, and hopefully I'll talk to you tomorrow, KK7HLD.
Yep, as you pointed out, like Coke and Dr. Pepper originally invented as health drinks. Coke, of course, had real cocaine, and I think Dr. Pepper, prune juice, and a few other things are supposed to keep you regular. And you're correct. Yeah, it's Salisbury steak was originally created by Dr. James Salisbury, who created the meal as a treatment for his patients to be eaten 3 times a day with plenty of water. And they thought it would cure anemia, colitis, gout, rheumatism, tuberculosis, and asthma, to name a few. So, thanks. Thank you, Dave. Victoria in Phoenix, KK7AVK. If you could uninvent something, Victoria, what would it be?
Good evening, Alex. This is Victoria, KK7AVK. The first thing that popped in my mind was also the atomic bomb, so if that didn't exist, I think the world would be a better place and obviously more peaceful for sure. Well, I don't know. Obviously, it does prevent some countries that have this as in their arsenal, basically are able to prevent war. I don't know. I'm not into this. I don't understand that much about wars, but maybe it is preventing some smaller wars to happen. But in general, I think it would be better not to have it.
Thank you, Victoria. Yeah, it's definitely hard to argue. Your question is, I could go into that, but there's people that think it's political when it's not. But so we'll leave that alone. Your Dr. Strangelove. Yeah. Your question is, which historical figure was responsible for making ice cream popular in the United States? Was that A, Thomas Jefferson, B, Mark Twain, or C, Elsie the cow?
Well, I'm just gonna go with Bravo. I don't know. And sorry for the word jumble before that. I guess I wasn't prepared to defend my answer, but it sounded horrible. Let's go with Bravo. Thanks, Alex, and have a great evening. KK7AVK, back to net.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, it seemed the way he lived his life would be the most likely one, but that was Thomas Jefferson that brought ice cream over from France, and it became an instant hit. So it's, yeah, one of the founding fathers made ice cream popular in the U.S. Thank you, Victoria. Over to Timothy in Tillamook, Oregon, KK7NXV. If you could uninvent something, what would it be? Ice cream?
I don't know if I'd uninvent ice cream, but I think I would probably uninvent social media.
How was ice cream served? A, having young attractive slave girls lick it first. B, in small reusable glass cups. Or C, on a silver spoon because wealthy people were the only ones who could afford it back then. What do you say?
I'm stuck between Bravo and Charlie, so I'm just going to go ahead and go for Charlie. KK7NXV, back to that.
Fit by that much. It was Bravo. Yeah, in small reusable glass cups is how they used to serve ice cream before the cones came out. The cups were sold for a penny and called penny licks. Customers would lick the ice cream out, return the cup to the vendor, and he'd fill it again without washing it to give it to the next customer. So, a tuberculosis outbreak around that time put it into that practice. But yeah, it's how they did it. And thanks. Thank you, Timothy. This is W7FTM in Scottsdale, Arizona, along with Vicky KE8VKY, and we're going next to John in Mesa, our East Coast Reflector repair operator here in the Phoenix area, N7OKN. If you could uninvent something, now you're an IT guy, this should be interesting, what would it be?
Oh, probably potato chips. It's been my downfall. Back over to you, Alex, and this is N7OKN.
Potato chips, corn chips, snack food, yeah. Okay, John, your question is, French toast was invented in A, France, B, England, or C, a bordello?
Well, you know, it's just an esoteric, excuse me, my cough. It's just an esoteric question to warrant a C, Abertello, or whatever you said. N7OKN.
Well, I use the cleanup term for that operation, but no, French toast was invented in B, England. Yeah, England. It was old bread that poor English families made more palatable by dipping it in milk and egg. So it didn't come from France, it came from England. Thanks, John. I appreciate you being here, buddy. Let's go to Fred in Reno, KK7OGC, and maybe Jane, if she's there. If you could then invent something, what would it be?
Hey, Alex, Vicky, and everyone on the net. You know, plastics come to mind, but they're very useful. But I'm going to choose styrofoam. Jane may choose to answer a question otherwise. Anyway, KK7OGC, back to net.
Well, it makes kind of a nice, pretty picture on the ocean, though, that styrofoam floating in it. Looks like white caps on the... yeah, I hear you, buddy. All right, Jane, we'll go to you. What, if you could then invent something, what would it be?
Hi, Alex. I would say disposable diapers.
those things. Even my daughter was a baby, those got me in trouble once. My wife had to go on a business trip for a couple of days, and of course I had to change the diapers. And when she came back, she noticed that I had not changed the diaper the whole time she was gone, and she wanted to know why. And I said, look, on the package it says right here, 8 to 10 pounds, and we're not even close to that amount. Sorry. Your question is, let's go back to Fred. Fred, your question is, French macaroons were invented in A, France, B, England, or C, Italy?
I'm going to go with Italy on that one. Charlie, KK70GC.
And that is correct. Yeah, Italy. Catherine de Medici's Italian pastry chef brought the recipe over to France when she married the Duc d'Orleans. So that's why French macaroons came from Italy. Thanks, thank you, Fred. And Jane, your question is, Danish pastries are actually from A, France, B, England, or C, Daneland, China.
Alex, I'm going to go with France on that one. Thank you.
And you are correct, Jane. France finally wins one. Yeah, they were introduced in Denmark because of a baker's strike, but they're actually from France. Yeah. You guys got it. Very good. All right. Robert, Kelleridge, Australia. Let's see if he's connected to VK2DY. If you could uninvent something, what would it be?
Good afternoon, Alex. This is Robert, VK2DY, in northwestern Sydney, Kellyville Ridge. Beautiful summer's day, or spring day here today. Sun is shining. It's 25 Celsius. Beautiful day. Anyway, if I could uninvent something, time travel. Oops, no, I didn't mean this. Don't forget I mentioned that. I didn't mention that. Don't remember that. I'm going to say landmines. VK2DY.
Wow, that's a good answer. Thanks, Robert. Your actual question is, cheesecake originally came from A, ancient Greece, B, ancient Rome, or C, the French magazine Ooh La La?
Okay, 2DY here. I want to say ancient Greece because it really sounds like something that would have come out of ancient Greece. So let's go with that. VK2DY.
And you are correct, sir. Ancient Greece is where cheesecake originally came from. The Greeks didn't use cream. They just pounded the cheese to achieve a paste-like consistency. Cream cheese wasn't invented until 1872, so they were way ahead of everyone on it. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I think the California connection is back. Let's go back to the top. We got Little Al and Mike in Little Al, Monterey, California, N6 MOT. Are you with us?
Yes, I am. N6 MOT, Little Al here in Monterey, California. Sorry about that, but I'm ready to go.
All right, Al. The question of the night is, if you could uninvent something, what would it be?
If I could uninvent something is the question. Is like not invented, it never existed. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Wow, that's a toughie. That's a toughie. God, what was invented that we all don't like? How about hatred in the world and people being mean? If we can uninvent that, that would be something, wouldn't it? Anyway, let's try a question.
Yep, we'll take hatred and evil as an answer. Yeah, these can be abstract concepts too. They don't have to be actual things, but whatever you like. Your question is, pozole, a traditional Mexican stew, originally contained this ingredient: A, eye of newt, B, pig bladders, or C, human flesh.
Well, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm not sure. Eye of newt is something my mother used to make all the time. Was it boiling trouble, all that good stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go with pig bladders because I think they use the offal. What do they call that? Offal, whatever parts you can get from the animal to make something good out of. Anyway, I'm going to go with pig bladders. I think that was me.
Again, missed it by that much. It's human flesh. Yes, see. Pozole used to be made with human flesh. The Aztecs would make it with the flesh of human sacrifices during festivals. Now, the tradition of making the stew for special occasions still survives, unlike the people who are sacrificed, only now pork, so you were close, is used instead of human flesh. Don't you hate it when a restaurant changes the recipe of your favorite dish? Thanks a lot. Mike in San Diego, KN6 MIK, if you could uninvent, what would it be?
Good evening, Alex. Sorry about the confusion. I've got so many notes, I picked the wrong one. KN6 MIK, Mike here in San Diego. I would get rid of social media. I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, brother, hit me.
Hey, it's 2 for social media. All right, Mike, your question is, in the Middle Ages, plates were often made out of A, human flesh, B, bread, or C, china, just like today.
Alex, I'm going to go with B, Bravo, KN6 MIK. Back to you.
As I like to say, how about that, huh? Yeah, they were made out of bread. People would eat their food off thick, flat slices of the trencher bread that was handed out to the poor. That way, if you're really poor, after you finish your meal, you could eat the bread too, or eat the plate too. Like Jethro Bodine. Thanks, Mike. You got it, buddy. All right, let's go to Scott in Houston, N7 FGP. If you could uninvent something, what would it be? The wind system? Just kidding.
Good evening, Alex and Vicky. You know, I'm going to go with Mike on social media. I've deleted most of mine, so anyhow, ready for a question.
What, you don't want to be tracked, traced, and have a file somewhere in the... And anyway, never mind. NSA. Your question is, not that I would ever think they would do that. Eggnog was invented in medieval England as a way to A, keep milk fresh longer, B, drink alcohol without anyone knowing, or C, allow the rich to show off their wealth. Could be any of those. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, be careful there listening. So, let's go with C, allow the rich to show off their wealth. Thanks for doing the net tonight. N7FGP.
And thank you for being here, Scott, and good luck with your net, by the way. And you are correct. Yeah, eggnog was invented in medieval England as a way to allow the rich to show off their wealth too. The ingredients for eggnog were very expensive then, so wealthy people would toast one another with eggnog. It's disgusting, but I know some people like it. Thanks again, Scott. Roy in Blasdell, New York, KA8, BYU. If you could uninvent something, Roy, what would it be?
Everybody on the net, KA8 BYU. I would uninvent the chiropractor's best friend, twister, that ties you up in a knot. More chiropractors get rich that way.
Yeah, I remember that when it was a game and you could, of course, you wanted to play with your girlfriends, preferably after a poker, but nonetheless, I'm getting sidetracked. Roy, your question is, ancient Romans used the precursor of the wedding cake, made back then of wheat or barley, in marriage ceremonies, just like we do today. The groom would cut the cake by A, breaking it over the bride's head, B, chopping off pieces with his battle axe, or C, slicing it in half with his sword. How did they cut the cake back then?
I'm going to go with Charlie on that one. Sounds like a reasonable one.
Well, Roy, you should know by now this net is anything but reasonable, and the correct answer is A. The groom would cut the wedding cake at ancient Roman weddings by breaking it over the bride's head. It signified that the marriage was sealed and meant good fortune for the couple. If the bride survived, that is. Bread was very hard back then. Thanks, Roy. Larry and Stephanie in Oak Grove, California, KN6JLX and KN6JLW. If you could uninvent something, what would it be?
Hi, Alex. This is Larry, KN6JLX, along with Stephanie, KN6JLW. Stephanie says the internet, and I'm going to go more extreme, and I'm going to say agriculture, send mankind back to hunter-gatherer types. Go ahead with our question.
Larry, makes sense. Bad thing, all this agriculture do. Take it back to old day, and boy, you might as well set the remote control for the television, because you can get up and turn the channels yourself. You don't have to. More exercise for you. I'm getting sidetracked again. All right, your question is, frozen concentrated orange juice was invented by A, the Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy movie Trading Places, B, the U.S. government, or C, orange growers in Florida.
Alex, we're going to go Bravo. Thanks for doing the net, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
And you both would be correct. Yeah, the U.S. government invented frozen concentrated orange juice. During World War II, the feds needed an easy way to get vitamin C to our soldiers, so they came up with frozen concentrated orange juice. Later on, there was and housewives wanted it after the war, and so that's how we wound up with those cans in our freezers all those years. Thanks guys, you got it. Chad in Cadogan, Pennsylvania, KD3 BPA. If you could invent something, what would it be? Uninvent something.
Well, I've heard several people go with social media, and that's my first pick.
there's part of me that would almost uninvent the internet entirely. Make people go back to reading books and talking to each other on the radio. Back to you.
Yep, looks like social media is crawling into the lead. By the way, my wife still refuses to use the social media, texting or anything. Now, we finally talked her into getting a cell phone just for her safety when she's driving. I had to convince her to do that, but no texting on it or anything. Well, anyway, it's a flip phone. Chad, your question is, the creation of Pop-Tarts, that breakfast food we all enjoyed as kids, if you're old enough to remember, was the result of innovations, A, in NASA food technology, B, in freeze drying, or C, in dog food. What led to Pop-Tarts?
Wow, I almost want to either choose A or B, or A or C, correction. But I think I'm going to go with A. It almost seems like a space thing, and then the way it's packaged, I'm going to go with NASA.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chad, you're thinking of Tang. Actually, the creation of Pop-Tarts was a result of innovations in C, dog food. Yeah, in the early 1960s, General Foods used the technology that allowed their Gaines Burgers and dog food patties to stay fresh without refrigeration to create the children's breakfast pastry. Kellogg's then used the idea to make Pop-Tarts. You know, I figured it was something like that. But thank you, Chad. It's a W7 FCM in Scottsdale, Arizona, going next to Teresa in College Station, Texas, K5MUX. Welcome back, Teresa. What would you uninvent if you could?
This is KE5MUX, and actually I'm on a little trip tonight. I'm in Houston right now, but I think I like somebody else's answer from earlier. Cheap products. Kind of miss things that you could buy once and not have to really worry about replacing for 10, 15 years. Go ahead with my question, sir.
Yeah, I miss the days when you could buy never mind, I can't say that in the air. Your question, Teresa, is the first English muffins were made in A, New York City, B, Bristol, England, or C, Paris, France. Where do English muffins come from?
I haven't got a clue, but it sounds like something that would have maybe come out of A. Thank you for doing the net. 73L KE5MUX.
A nice tale you got there, Teresa. You are correct. Yeah, it's New York City. Yeah, it's English muffins were first made in New York City. And by the way, they aren't muffins; they're crumpets. How confusing is that? I'll stick with my Irish coffee. Thanks. Thank you, Teresa. You got it. Brian in Monticello, Kentucky, AC4BR. Welcome back, Brian. If you could uninvent something, what would it be?
Good evening, Alex. Good evening, everybody on the net. That's a good question. Several people have offered some good ones, I think. I'm going to go with one maybe a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say lottery tickets. For the two reasons. One, basically most people have to lose so that somebody can win. And two, seems like I always get stuck behind them when there's only one cashier at the gas station, and they seem to be completely oblivious to the half dozen or dozen people that's backed up behind them waiting on them to hurry up and get done. Anyway, it's AC4BR. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Brian. And to the government people and police listening, he was just kidding. He loves lottery tickets. Support the state's coffers. Thank you, Brian. All right, the last food question. processed American cheese originally comes from A, China, B, France, or C, Switzerland?
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know anything about Chinese cheese. So that seems like too lowbrow for French. So I guess I'll go with Swiss. I think that was Charlie. Turn back to you.
Yes, thought that went through, Brian, and you're correct. Yeah, Switzerland is where processed American cheese comes from. Walter Gerber and Fritz Stettler invented it in 1911 as a way of elongating the shelf life. Elongating, is that right? Their shelf life of their cheese so they could ship it overseas. Yeah, to us, because we buy so much. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Andy in Cheektowaga, New York. Welcome back, Andy. W2AJR. Invent something, what would it be?
Good evening, Alex. Excuse me. Good evening, Alex. Everybody on the net. I would uninvent Amazon. That way I could go to Sears and get my ratchet fixed. Thank you.
But Andy, you gotta go out and see people, and you can't do it in your underwear. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. Anyway, understood. Your question is, at the Battle of San Jacinto during the Texas Revolution, and right after the Battle of the Alamo, by the way, Mexican General Santa Anna escaped and was found the next day wearing civilian clothes. Why wasn't he in uniform? A, he was trying to disguise himself as a peasant to escape capture. B, he sent his uniform to the local Chinese laundry to be cleaned after he soiled it when the Texans arrived. Or C, he was having sex with a young senorita when the Texans arrived. Which of those is correct, Andy?
I have no clue, but I hope that for his sake it was C, Alex.
And you are correct. Yes, he was having sex with a young senorita when the Texans came charging in. Now, he wasn't expecting our guys to reorganize so quickly after the loss at the Alamo, so it surprised him. The Battle of San Jacinto was the most lopsided victory in U.S. history, with Santa Anna being the only Mexican who scored that day. Thanks, thank you, Andy. Chris in Hollywood, Florida, KQ4UPK. If you could then invent, what would it be?
Hey Alex, Vicky, everybody on the net. This is KQ4UPK, and I'm gonna go with religion. And you can go ahead with the question, and everybody can research that later.
Oh, a big fan of the John Lennon song Imagine, huh? Yeah, it's organized religion. I can see your point with some of them. So we won't go there. You know, the ham radio is about religion. Your question is, in Australia, what does the phrase pulling a Bradbury mean? Pulling a Bradbury. Is it A, an incredibly unlikely victory? B, falling asleep at a pub after drinking too much beer? Or C, using poetic devices and jumping between different narration perspectives when speaking, like author Ray Bradbury did? What's pulling a Bradbury in Australia?
I'm going to go ahead and go with C. Let's see what happens.
You should have asked for divine guidance on that one. It was actually pulling a Bradbury in Australia means an incredibly unlikely victory. It's named after Australian Olympic speed skater Stephen Bradbury, who was in last place, but won the gold medal after all the other skaters crashed into each other near the finish line. Now, ironically, Bradbury was only in the finals because the exact same thing happened in the semifinals, allowing him to qualify. So he won because on two occasions all the other skaters crashed. So that's pulling a Bradbury. Go ahead and import that phrase. That's kind of clever. Thanks. Thank you, Chris. David, Owensboro, Kentucky, W9DWH. David, if you could uninvent something, what would it be?
Good day out to everyone on the net. Over to a friend's house this evening and introduce them to amateur radio, so they've been listening to the trivia net here and kind of enjoying it a little bit. And I'll kind of tread lightly here, and I'll say political parties. Rather than have Republican, Democrat, whatever. Like our city council system here, you don't run either way. You just run by your name and your reputation, and I think that'd be the way to go.
Imagine all the people living life in peace. That's a political part. Gotcha, David, and I comment on that, but people know my opinions of politicians, so I won't go there. All right, buddy, your question is, speaking of Ray Bradbury, where did the science fiction author write his famous novel, Fahrenheit 451? Did he write it A, in Death Valley National Park in California, and B, his Sierra Nevada mountain cabin in California, or C, the basement of the UCLA library in California?
No clue at all, Alex, so I'm just going to kind of bolt down the middle and I guess Bravo and hope for the best. Thanks for running the net, as always, and I hope to catch you next week. W9, you betcha.
Yeah, actually, Stephen King was a guy who liked to go up to his cabin there in the mountains and write novels, but Ray Bradbury wrote Fahrenheit 451, C, in the basement of the UCLA library in California. He rented the typewriters he used for the book at a rate of 10 cents per 30 minutes. The novel cost him $9.80 to write and was originally titled The Fireman. Thanks, David. Appreciate you being here, buddy. Let's go to Brett in Pensacola, Florida, KF6HDJ. If you could uninvent something, what would it be?
Well, good evening, Alex, Vicky, and the net. Well, surprisingly, since I ran 2 landline PSs back in the early 90s, so I actually was doing social media before social media was actually a thing. But I haven't seen anything, or at least in the recent, but the incarnation of it now, I haven't seen something that has, destroyed so many friendships as Facebook. So I'm going to go with social media. Back to you, Alex.
Yeah, I never joined Facebook, but I know people that have, and they try to unjoin, and it's very, very difficult, even though they make it look like it's easy. Gotcha, Brent. Your question is, in days of old, when knights were bold and unions weren't invented, what were the semi-free farmhands tied to feudal manors to work the land called? I probably should have worded that better. Try it again. What were these semi-free farmhands tied to feudal manors to work the land called in the old days? Were they A, serfs, B, vassals, or C, entry-level peasants?
One of my favorite multiplayer games on the BBS was Empire. In Empire, you had serfs. So I'm going to go with serfs. A, KF6HDJ.
Yep, ride the wild serf until he couldn't work anymore. And you're correct. Yes, serf. A vassal was a go-between, I think. I knew that once, but now I forgot. Anyway, you got it, Brent. Thank you very much. This is W7FTM along with K8VKY. You're listening to the Saturday Night Trivia Net on the East Coast Reflector. And we're going to Stephen in Londonderry, New Hampshire, W1BBW. Welcome back. And your question is, oh, wait a minute, you may be new. Well, anyway, I may have heard you before. If you could uninvent something, what would it be, Stephen? W1 BBW, Stephen in New Hampshire, or any call sign that's close in case I got it wrong, come in. Okay, maybe later. Let's go to Bill in Dunnville, Ontario, Canada, VA3 YBS. Bill, if you could invent something, what would it be? America? Just kidding.
Good evening, Alex and Vicki and everybody else on the crew tonight. Yeah, tough question tonight. The answer I come up with was self-driving cars. I just can't wrap my head around getting into a car and letting some electronic circuits make all the decisions about do I go left, right, faster, slower, that kind of thing. So I'm ready for the question, Alex.
Well, you know, Bill, the reason those computerized cars keep crashing is because they don't have the proper driver installed. Yeah. Okay, your question is, well, this is a Canadian question, maybe you know it. In 2022, a COVID patient in Windsor, Ontario, smuggled this into their hospital room by hiding it in a stuffed animal. What they smuggle into their hospital room? A, methamphetamine. B, a bottle of whiskey. Or C, ivermectin.
Wow, I was going to go with a bottle of whiskey because Canadian whiskey. But you know what, that last one, I'm going to go with C, ivermectin.
Yeah, that's what it was. I should have used maple syrup as one of those answers, but no, too late. You're correct. Yeah, ivermectin is what they smuggled in. You couldn't get it back then. I don't know if it was illegal there or not, but you weren't allowed to take it. Everybody was pushing the vaccine back then, and as most of you out there know, ivermectin works very well, despite what you may have heard. And my wife and I took it during that outbreak, and a couple of days we were fine. So, funny how something health-related becomes political, isn't it? Anyway, you got it, Bill. Thanks. Thanks for checking in. Let's go to Rich in Meadow Lakes, Alaska, KO4RCS. If you could uninvent something, what would it be, Rich? Alaska? Oh, no, probably not. What do you think? Rich in Middle Lakes, KO4RCS. I knew you were having trouble connecting before. Did you make it back? That's okay. We're almost at the end of this round, so we'll see if he checks in a few minutes. Steve in Houston, N5. ZUA, if you could invent something, Steve, what would it be?
Sorry for the buzzing noise there, Alex. I guess I have a little interference on my node here. Steve in Houston, N5 ZUA, if I could uninvent something, it would be the condom, because that would make me a professional. That's right. Wait for it and get the bell ready. It would make me a prophylactic. Ready for a question?
Now, Steve, I decide who gets the bell or not here. We have a strict humor clause here at the, okay, didn't it? Your question is, also in 2022, the Bridge House Bakery, the Bridge Bakehouse in Derbyshire, United Kingdom was threatened with a lawsuit What was the name of one of their sandwiches? What was the sandwich name that got everybody upset? A, the ivermectin works sandwich. B, the Jesus Christ sandwich. Or C, the Prince Andrew Kids meal. I don't know what got them upset.
Oh, I'll guess B, because that was probably the most controversial of them, but it's probably wrong. N5ZUA.
Yeah, C would be kind of controversial too, you know, the story behind it, but you're correct. It was the Jesus Christ sandwich upset some people, so they were threatened with a lawsuit if they didn't remove it from the menu at the Bridge Bakehouse. Now, can you imagine what would have happened if they would have named the sandwich the Mohammed meatball? Yeah, just saying. Thanks, Steve. Terry in Harrogate, Tennessee, came in via the text line K4ACB. You're the last one on the list, Terry. If you could invent something, what would it be?
Pretty firm on my answer here. Plastic. I hate plastic in all forms. Think of what it impacts on the environment.
Well, Terry, didn't you see the movie The Graduate? Plastics were the new thing. Yeah, I hear you, buddy. If you could just get them out of the ocean, that would help. All right, Terry, your question is, hey, are you thinking about getting married? Some of your wedding expenses can be written off if you, A, marry your cousin, B, marry one of your ex-spouses again, no thanks, or C, get married in a church or historically significant location. For example, Boot Hill Cemetery in Tombstone, Arizona would be an appropriate place for a wedding. What do you say, Terry?
Thinking about getting married again, and I don't know what that is, getting into that other repeater there. What was A again?
It was marry your cousin. I'll do it again. Marry your cousin, marry one of your ex-spouses, yeah. Or C, get married in a church or historically significant location. What can you deduct?
Because I'm from Tennessee doesn't mean that I would marry my cousin. So, no thanks. Number B, I have an ex-spouse and I would not marry her again. So I'm going to go with C.
Tell you what, my cousin gave no. Never mind, you're correct. Yes, you can, if you get married in a church or a historically significant location, you can write it off. It's a tax write-off because it can count as a donation to the church or the historic significant location. You can also donate to any extra flowers or gowns and write those off too. So when your kids or grandkids get married, make sure they know that. Thank you. Thanks, Jerry. Okay, so W7FTM in Scottsdale, Arizona, taking more check-ins for the Saturday Night Trivia Net. Full call sign, phonetically twice, and slowly, please.
Whiskey 4, Papa Papa X-ray, in and out, Alex. Whiskey 4, Papa Papa X-ray, in and out. KC1 QPL. KC1 QPL.
Kilo 3 Alpha Whiskey Alpha. Victor Kilo 3 Alpha Whiskey Alpha.
All right, then we pick up three more. We have W4PPX Don in Hollywood, Florida, in and out. Thank you, Don. John in South St. Paul, Minnesota, KC1 QPL. And Daryl in Paradise Beach, Australia, VK3AWA. First off, let me make sure, let me check to see if Rich in Meadow Lakes, Alaska made it back in. Kale for RCS. Are you with us?
Kale for RCS Mobile, go ahead.
Here you are, sounding good now. Yeah, the question of the night was if you could uninvent something, what would it be?
Boy, I'm not too sure on that one. Boy, I'll have to pass on that one there. I'm not too sure there, Alex.
Maybe you like everything that's been invented. That's okay. It usually has some use somewhere. All right, Rich, your question is, that achy feeling you get when suffering from a cold is caused by A, your body, B, the rhinovirus, or C, the woolly mammoth virus. What do you think?
Well, I hope it's Alpha. I surely hope it's not Charlie. Thanks for doing the net, Alex. Great to hear you out there always. KL4RCS 73.
Yeah, that's it. It's your body. It's not the virus. It's your body. Your white blood cells are being activated to fight the virus that causes the discomfort you feel. So it's your body fighting off the virus. You got it, buddy. Thanks for checking in. We've had 2 in a row, right, Rich? Okay, go to John next in South St. Paul, Minnesota, KC1 QPO. Welcome back, John. If you could uninvent something, you're kind of a science guy. What would it be?
Alex, good evening everyone on tonight's Trivia Net. I would reinvent the Trivia Net login process. I tried once by the text line and it didn't pick me up. But seriously, I would uninvent the atomic bomb. It kept us from one big war and it's going to lead us into another bigger one. So that's what I would uninvent. Although the physics we gathered was substantial, but there's another way to get that. So what's my question for the evening, my friend?
On your East Coast Reflector comment, yeah, and I hear you on the atomic bomb too. Some people try to make that argument, but I hear you. Your question is, John, okay, this is kind of an unusual question. King Charles VI of France had delusions, and he believed that his body was made of A, steel, B, onions, or C, glass. What did King Charles VI of France think that his body was made out of?
Well, you're right about it being an unusual question. I'm totally guessing on this, but given the delusion that many world leaders have suffered from, and they come in all forms, I think you have to be delusional to be a world leader. But I'm going to go with glass, and that's just a wild guess.
Good guess. It was glass. Yeah, he thought his body was made out of glass, King Charles VI of France, and he had his clothes specially reinforced so he wouldn't break. Wow, he really had a heart of glass. In between what I find is pleasing and I'm feeling... Sorry, I'm a big Blondie fan. You got it, John. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for checking in. Boy, Daryl in Paradise Beach, Australia, VK3AWA. Welcome back. And if you could uninvent something, what would it be?
Good evening, Alex, Vicky, and listeners on the net. I think it would be solar wind farms, Alex. Back to you.
Thank you, Daryl. A great point. For those of us who are birders, they kill birds like crazy. They don't generate that much electricity. They're expensive to make, and the parts come from China, but not to be political or anything. I think most people know that now anyway. Thank you. Thank you for that, Daryl. And your question is, I've got a weird news trivia story of the week. Unfortunately, I think this is mostly a U.S.-based question, but yeah, you probably listen to the news and strange things going on over here. Which of the following headlines was an actual news story from last week? A. Navy airdrops public defender onto a drug boat to give cartel members due process. Now that's more like it. B. Man applying for a driver's license asked for ID to prove he was a New York resident, stabs DMV clerk in the neck. That ought to prove it. Or C. California woman busted for registering her dog to vote twice. Which of those actually happened?
Well, we do see a lot of news from America, but I'm going to go with C. That sounds bizarre enough, and it is California. Back to you.
Why, Daryl, are you saying strange people live in California? Yeah, that's it. A California woman was busted for registering her dog to vote twice. I'll go with this real quick. An Orange County woman was arrested and charged with multiple felonies after prosecutors say she illegally registered her dog to vote and cast ballots in two separate elections. Laura Lee York, 62, of Costa Mesa, allegedly registered her dog, Maya Jean York, it's got three names too, as a voter and submitted mail-in ballots in the dog's name during the 2021 recall election of Governor Gavin Newsom and the 2022 primary. Doggone it. Recalling Newsom would have been oh, never mind. People might consider that topic a dog whistle, so I'm not going to go there. Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate it, buddy. Okay, we're taking more check-ins for the Saturday Night Trivia Net. Full call sign phonetically twice, please.
Kilo Juliet 5, Delta X-Ray Bravo. Kilo Juliet 5, Delta X-Ray Bravo.
Kilo Echo 8, Yankee Tango Oscar. Kilo Echo 8, Yankee Tango Oscar.
All right, we picked up two more there. We have Frank in Sugarland, Texas. Welcome back, Frank. KJ5DXP and KE8YTO Michael in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Looks like you're a new check-in. Thanks for showing up. Michael, welcome to the Saturday Night Trivia Net. Frank in Sugarland. The question of the night, if you could uninvent something, what would it be?
KJ5DXB. Good evening, Alex, Vicky, and everybody. The only thing I think of real quick is maybe uninventing some of the latest Windows operating systems. Go back to some of the original ones. Back to you, sir.
I tell you what, Frank, my Windows 3.1 is still running strong. I like being able to configure the registry and not have any intrusive, Just kidding. Your question is, these are the only non-human mammals that can recognize or see wolves. Which of those animals can recognize and follow along with the musical beat?
Alex, I'm going to have to ask you to repeat that. I just got a bunch of static going through most of that. Can you do that one over again?
Yeah, no problem, Frank. That was, SAG was probably just me reading the question. We'll try it again. These are the only non-human mammals can recognize and follow along with the musical beat. Would it be A, rap artists, B, sea lions, or C, wolves?
Oh, let me just go with Bravo on that one, Alex. Thanks for the check-in. Back to you.
Oh, yeah, you got it right. Sea lions. Sea lions. They can recognize and follow along with the musical beat. Parrots can too, but they're not mammals. Of course, many humans have trouble following along with a musical beat, as I proved at every high school dance I attended. Thanks, Frank. Michael in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Welcome to the net, K8 YTO. If you could uninvent something, what would it be?
Yes, K8 YTO. Thank you for letting me in. This is my first time hitting the Reflector. For uninventing, I would have to say automobiles.
No more horseless carriages. Got you down, Michael. And your question is, it's a year new, so let me find a ridiculously hard one here. And I'll give you the next one. In the movie The Lost World, Jurassic Park, there's a shot of terrified Japanese businessmen running from the rampaging T-Rex. When one of them shouts in Japanese, A, we left Tokyo to get away from this. B, the ship's chair deflates the blue building. Apparently someone just threw some Japanese words together and didn't care if anyone translated them, or if you're thirsty, why not have a refreshing... Yeah, the end movie hucksterism is getting ridiculous. So what do you say, Michael? Which one of those?
Oh, what a good movie. I would definitely say that is A. Kilo Echo 8, Yankee Tango Oscar.
Nicely done. You are correct. Yeah, it was they said it in Japanese, and if you couldn't understand Japanese, you wouldn't hear the well-placed joke. But yeah, they're running from the T-Rex saying we left Tokyo to get away from this. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. All right, taking more check-ins for the Saturday Night Trivia Net. Full call sign phonetically twice, please.
Victor Echo 3, Bravo Zulu. VE3 be set.
Usually I am Kilo 3 India Mike.
Okay, then picked up two more. We have Kevin in Victoria Harbor, Ontario, V3BD, one of our facilitators. Welcome back, Kevin. And Jason in Apollo, Pennsylvania, K3IM. Welcome to the net. The question of the night, if you could uninvent something, what would it be? What say you, Kevin?
Hey, good evening, Alex, Vicky, and everyone on the net. I don't know. The only thing I can come up with is self-checkout lines. I don't get a discount when I do somebody else's job, so just get rid of them. Anyway, what's my question?
Yeah, and even though they try to tell you it doesn't, it does cause for less people to be employed, so yeah. All right, your question, Kevin, is in 2013, the Vatican had to recall 6,000 papal medals because of a typo. What was the error on those 2013 Vatican papal medals? A, the medals had the name Lisus instead of Jesus printed on them. B, the medals had the word dope instead of pope printed on them. Or C, the medals had the year 10 printed on them instead of 2013. Sounds about right. What do you say, Kevin?
I'll go with C on that one. I could see that being an easy typo to make. Anyway, thanks for being there, Alex. Back to you, V3BZ.
Hey, Kevin, and yeah, 1013 instead of 2030. No, the medals had the name Lisus, L-E-S-U-S, instead of Jesus printed on them. Never heard of that prophet, but obviously they quickly became a collector's item after they were recalled. But well, yeah, everybody makes mistakes. Thank you, Kevin. Going to Jason in Apollo, Pennsylvania, K3IM. Welcome to the net. If you could uninvent something, what would it be?
Let me think about that for a second. I would probably say, although I have a definitely love-hate relationship with it, I would say smartphones. I would, on most days, want to skip my smartphone into a pond, so I will say smartphones.
VK2HSW.
Yeah, but how would you work your smart refrigerator and your smart car and your smart everything else? I hear you. And the other station, hang on a second. We'll get to you. We have you checked in, VK2HSW, and we'll get to you next. Jason, your question is, where are we? Oh, here we are. Where does the tradition of crossing your fingers when telling a lie come from? A nursery rhyme from the 15th century. B, the ancient Romans. Or C, the ancient Christians.
I'll go with Alpha, that's total guess.
My ears!
And by the way, Jason, I would be remiss to tell you you're a little over-deviated, so turn down that Turner Plus 2 mic or whatever next time you check in. But you're coming in we can hear you well. It's just a little bit too much audio. So, no, actually, the tradition of crossing your fingers when telling a lie comes from C, the ancient Christians. The belief was that crossing your fingers would absolve you of the lies you told to your persecutors. My wife still does that today. I don't know why. It's usually when talking to me. Thank you. Thanks, Jason. Hope to hear you next. And next up we have Hanson in St. Leonard's, Australia. Not sure what the territory is. You can tell us. VK2HSW. If you could uninvent something, what would it be? Probably didn't realize he was checking into it at VK2 HSW. Come now, please. All right, then, moving on. Taking more check-ins, so we're probably getting near the end. Let's see if we can get some more people who want a trivia question. Full call sign phonetically twice, please.
Victor Echo 3, Romeo Whiskey Juliet. Victor Echo 3, Romeo Whiskey Juliet.
Juliet, Juliet, Kilo. All right, let's hold up there. We got Chris in Ancaster, Ontario. Welcome back, Chris. VE3 RWJ, and I believe John in Ethel Springs, New York, KK4 and JJK. Question of the night again is, if you could uninvent something, what would it be, and what say you, Chris?
I would uninvent the milk bag, and that's not a euphemism. Up in Canada here, they sell milk in plastic bags. I've never quite understood that. So I would uninvent those.
Chris, everybody here in the U.S. just said, milk bag, what the hell is it? So, never heard. Thank you for letting us know that. We'll be more careful when I go to Canada. Your question is, before World War II, fortune cookies were called this: A, cat cookies, B, charm cookies, or C, fortune tea cakes.
I'm gonna guess Bravo.
No, they were called, before World War II, fortune cookies were called fortune tea cakes. They were influenced by Japanese tea cakes, so that's why they called them that. But, World War II, we had a disagreement with the Japanese, and they changed it to fortune cookies. By the way, fortune cookies were invented in San Francisco, not China or Japan. And one time I got a fortune cookie with a message inside that read, "Creamy from the track. Lucky numbers 23.5 north, 121.0 east." Now, I've been playing those numbers ever since, and I still haven't won the lottery. So, yeah, it may be all bunk. Thank you, Chris. John in Ethel Springs, New York, KK Ford and JJK, welcome to the net. If you could invent something, what would it be? Bad trivia nets?
Thanks for doing that again. I just sat down. Somebody's answered this already. I would uninvent the internet. For as much good as it's been, it's just miserable nowadays. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'm ready for my question.
Yeah, someone on the internet just tried to jam you for saying that, but yeah. That's what you gotta put up with. All right, John, your question is, the pinky promise, a traditional gesture practiced amongst children involving the locking of the pinkies to signify that a promise will not be broken, comes from A, Shakespeare, B, Japan, Or C, the Kukla, Fran, and Ollie children television show. Where's that Pinky Promise stuff that mostly girls, I don't think any of the guys did. Where's that come from?
Usually I can do a method of deduction here, but the elimination, but I'm going to go with Shakespeare, A.
Yeah, this is one of those questions where it could be any one of these, and it's B, Japan. It was known as Yubakiri, and if the promise was broken, the finger would be cut off. The Japanese took their pinky promises seriously. Yeah, that's where it comes from. How did that get to them? Anyway, thanks. Thank you, John. I appreciate you checking in. Hope to hear you next Saturday night. All right, taking more check-ins. Full call sign phonetically twice, please. Well, now step right up. Try a trivia question. Full call sign phonetically twice, please. Okay, last call. Full call sign phonetically twice, please. This is your last chance to own a trivia question. Steve, the wind system people are playing with your repeater again. But that's okay. All right, let's see how we did. Wait a minute, I did that backwards. Hang on. We had 37 check-ins tonight. 37 people checked in tonight, and of those that answered questions and weren't in and out, we had 21 people got their questions correct, and 13 people missed their questions. And as far as the, if you could uninvent something, what would it be? Well, social media was the clear winner tonight. I believe it had 15%, a little over 15% of the people said that the internet was pretty close, and cheaper products no longer being made. Yeah, was right up there too. So yeah, social media takes that one. I'd like to thank everybody who participated tonight, with special thanks, of course, to Vicky, K-E-8-V-K-Y, for logging the net and providing some humor relief in the background. And the East Coast Reflector hosts a variety of interesting nets during the week. So for more information, visit eastcoastreflector.com and select the Nets tab on the main page. We now return control of the ECR back to normal amateur use until next week at the same time, with the control voice will take you to the Saturday night trivia net. 7-3, good night. W7 FTM clear.
KQ4 UPK. Alex, have a great night, and I'll talk to you next weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for checking in. Good to hear you again, buddy. So we'll talk to you next week, W7FTM.
This is the East Coast Reflector News, ARL News line after top of the hour. Did I get that correct? 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday night. Did I get that right? The station is Kilo Bravo 9, Mike Quebec Delta. Just curious and standing by for the ARL News line if I'm right at Saturdays at 1 a.m.
It's on Sundays at 1 p.m. and again on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. K8 BKY.
What was that again?
It's on Sundays at 1 p.m. and then again on Wednesdays at 10 p.m.
Kind of missed that there. You know, I copied Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Yes. What was the following next day on the ARL News line?
The other time is on Sundays at 1 p.m.
Okay, thank you. See, I got that one wrong. I sure do, thank you. From Kilo Bravo 9, Mike Quebec Delta, Indiana Navigator. Thank you.
K8 BKY.
K2XI by chance out there?
David?
K2XI and 5ZLW. Hey, David, K2XI. Are you by chance monitoring? K2XI and 5ZLW. VK2WB, Barry, you by chance copy? VK2WB, N5ZLW, Barry, you monitoring this evening there in the UK, or Australia, I'm sorry. Anybody copy my traffic out there? N5ZLW.
N5ZLW, KK7OGC. I guess your friends aren't online tonight, KK7OGC.
Well, I see station 6066, he's in New South Wales, he's connected, and I see the status page lighting up, but apparently, I don't know, it might be dinner time over there, I'm not sure, but Barry's a good friend of mine. I'm over here in East Texas. Thanks for chiming in. I wasn't sure the link connections were working. So thanks for chiming in. I appreciate that. I assume you're on 9050 or All-Star or something there, correct?
Yeah, I'm on All-Star KK7OGC, Fred in Reno.
All right, I'm giving it a little bit of a pause because it looks like it takes a lot of latency. I don't see the status page. So, well, you guys had some heat today. I had some heat. I'm in East Texas near the Shreveport, Louisiana border. Shreveport, but the Louisiana border. And it was pretty warm, toasty here today. So, all right, well, I'm going to drop the links. I'm coming in through my VHF repeater here in White House, Texas, on IROP, going into an experimental reflector that's cross-linking to Route 66, and I'm getting into East Coast Reflector through their Echolink link, I think, is where I'm going in at. I'm not sure. Anyway, there's several links here. But anyway, it's the only way I could get it connected because K2XI was supposed to be set over here on 9050, David. But anyway, 73, enjoy yourself there, up there. Gosh, did you say Reno? Anyway, Vegas, Nevada, I'll just say Nevada. 73, thanks again, I appreciate it. N5ZLW.
N5ZLW, I didn't catch your name, and we only do ID for the FCC requirements, but anyway, pleasure chatting. KK7OGC, Fred in Reno.
I copy that. The call sign is N5ZLW. Name is Pete Dameron. I'm located here in East Texas. And talking to you on a Nomad IROP node. A little built-in transceiver. It's kind of like All-Star. It's a little bit better built than most All-Stars. It's a 4-layer board. It uses fiber optics for the displays and whatnot, but that's what I'm on. Talking through VoIP on a Nomad IROP companion node. All right, my friend, 73, enjoy yourself there in Reno. Been there. I lived out in Southern California as a young man for a while and was We went to Vegas a lot of times, Las Vegas, and I worked in Nevada on the power plants up there when I was a scapular. I'm 71 now. I've been in Texas about 33 years, I think. All right, 73, N5ZOW.
All right. Have a good evening. What part of Southern California or California did you say you grew up there or been there or... Sorry, I lost track of your train of thought or my train of thought.
Late 50s, my family moved from Oklahoma to Southern California, and I grew up as a child till I was probably about 17 or 18 in a little town outside of Riverside called Norco. There was more horses than there were people. It's where I grew up as a kid. And I met my bride from Texas, and we moved to Texas. Lived out in Southern California for a while, but I think I moved here in 1992 or 3. I don't remember. But I was from Southern California, a little town called Norco. Over.
Well, my third party sitting next to me knows where that is, but I do not.
Well, it's definitely changed. When I was a child, it had one stop sign, and Hamner Avenue drove through the town. Now it's got a interstate, I think it's 215 goes through it, and like I said, there was more horses, and people rode horses to school. There was more horses than there were people. And it's north of Corona off the 91 freeway there. And that 91 freeway didn't exist when I was a kid. It was just a 2-lane Coal Canyon road to Orange County. It was a 2-lane road. But, all right, I'll hop out of here. 73, and hello to your bride there. And you guys take care. N5ZOW, deep in the heart of East Texas, clear.
Well, she's kind of giggling about that. We've been together for 13 years, and we have our own houses. Anyway, 73's NL, shoot. This is KK7OGC, Fred and Reno. I'll be clear.
The system you're listening to is connected to the East Coast Reflector. Did you know the East Coast Reflector has a monthly magazine? Please visit eastcoastreflector.com/newsletter to view the current and archived magazines.